耶稣圣名，很高兴能够跟大家在这里面一起来学习。
In the name of Lord Jesus Christ, I am overjoyed that I'm here today again to share with everyone.
今天又是安息日，所以大家在主里安息，第一个就要放松。
And today's also the Sabbath day, so we rest in the Lord. So we ask everyone to relax.
那你会感觉已经进入到神圣里面。
And you feel that you have entered into God's holiness.
圣日嘛，那你会感觉怎么样？
It is a holy day, so how do we feel?
很有福气。
That we are blessed. Remember that.
好，那我们上礼拜讲了一天啊。
And so last weekend we spoke for a whole day.
其实是上礼拜是有一点软做运动，软身运动。
And last weekend was more of a warm up.
那现在呢，我又想了一个礼拜最后呢，我现在先从这个图开始。
And so I thought about this for another week. So let's start with this diagram.
因为我们这个伯拉大河水干在整个启示录里面是在什么时候发生的？
So the water of the Euphrates was dried up. When did this happen in the timeline of the book of Revelations?
在这里发生的。
And it happened there.
来，我们来看一下哈。
And let's take a look.
很抱歉，不然就做过了一点，他们那边这样集中一点好吗？
And sorry if you cannot see, and I ask you if you wanted to move to this side, where we can be more concentrated.
那就在这里这样子哈。好，启示录是7个印
And the book of Revelation has the 7 seals,
所组成的，
and it is composed of that.
就是一个书卷。
And it is an entire book.
那这个书卷就是用7个印封着。
And the book is being sealed by the 7 seals.
那7个印都开完了，
And after the 7 seals has opened,
那就结束了。
and it has ended.
好，所以第一个印这个7印其实是从第6章开始。
And the 7 seals starts in chapter 6.
这个它的结构很均匀呐。
And the structure is very even.
从第6章开始，第一印就有2节，
Starting from the first seal has 2 verses.
有2节，2节，2，再来呢，3，
And it all has 2 verses each, and then later is 3 verses each.
就是2，这一个3，第5，这个呢2个3，第6印。
2, 2, 2, 2, 3, and 6.
这是第6章。
And this is chapter 6.
第7印呢？
How about the 7th seal?
跑到第8章第1节而已。
It's now skipped to chapter 8, verse
1
1.
节。
Verse 1.
好，这样就好记了哈。
And this is easy for us to remember.
整个启示录其实是，如果它的主要的 main body 就是6章到8章1节。
And the main body of the book of Revelation is in chapter 6 and the first verse of Revelation 8, verse 1.
就是7个印。
It is the 7 seals.
好，那在这个7个印里面呢，因为看意象，它是在时间的，就是 timeline 里面，时间流里面在走的。
And the 7 seals, because it is seeing a vision, so it follows a timeline.
所以这样的 time 有一个 order，
And the timeline has
就
an
是时
order,
序。
and it is the order of time.
但是事情发生是怎么样？比如说我们现在在这里，时间在过，其实怎么讲？刚才古拉哪里都有事情在发生嘛，是叠上去的。
And for example, whatever's occurring now, there are other events occurring simultaneously in this line of time.
好，白马出来。
And the white horse has appeared.
那白马出来，这是6章1节哈。
And this is in chapter 6, verse 1.
那在这个同时，7章其实就是在描写6章第1节的情况。
And at the same time, in Revelation chapter 6, it is describing what's happening in chapter 6, verse 1.
7章第1节是讲从日出之地有一个那个什么天使，他拿着鹅，拿印在印额，这个我们都很清楚了，就是应许的圣灵出来。
And in chapter 7, it describes an angel appeared who are holding the seals of the servants on their foreheads, and we are familiar with this, and we know that this is referring to the Holy Spirit.
如果我们把它放到历史时间，
And if we put it in the historical timeline,
这就是1917年。
it is 1927.
好，那在1917年开始，这是历史时间哈。
And this is historical time starting at 1927.
这是马后炮，
And this is, we only know of it after it
也
happened.
就是说，约翰知不知道1917年呢？不知
And
道，
another word, does John know about 1927? No.
他只是预言嘛。
But because it is a prophecy.
那我们是后来想，这个就应该这个，所以把这个再讲哈。无论是什么什么预定啊，那个什么拣选啊，这都马后炮。
And because we come after the event, so we can say that it fits that timeline, and anything like being chosen, those are all, we all understand it after it has happened.
那这个要多久呢？
And how long will this go on for?
20章就是在讲这个多久。
And in chapter 20, it tells of that.
1000年，
1,000 years.
1000年是在起诉时间最长的。
And 1,000 years is the longest recording of time in the book of Revelation.
好，那我今天不是要讲时间，所以我只是提1000年哈。
And today, we are not here to discuss about time, so I will refer it to as 1,000 years.
那在这个1000年的时候，
And during this 1,000 years,
撒旦会被放到无底坑。
Satan will be placed in the bottomless pit.
无底坑不是地狱，
And bottomless pit is not hell.
无底坑也不是那个阴间。
And bottomless pit is not Hades.
如果从起诉来讲的话，无底坑就是 Cerritos，
And if you look at this from the book of Revelation, bottomless pit is Cerritos.
就是台北，
It is Taipei.
就是 Cyprus，
It is Cyprus.
就是你家旁边。
It is next to your house,
也就
nearby.
是说，有罪恶的地方就是
And where there is sin, there is the bottomless pit.
起诉是用大巴比伦来讲，
And the book of Revelation used the Great Babylon to describe
也
this.
可以在莫斯科，也可以在柏林。
And it can be in the end times.
莫斯科、Moscow，
Oh, and
或是
Moscow,
柏林、台北是哈。
Taipei.
也就是在起诉里面只有两种人，一种是地上的人，一种是天上的人。
And in Revelation, there's only two types of people, the people from the earth, from the world, and the people of above heaven.
如果再讲多一点的话，意思是说，在1000年里面哈，教会不会堕落，就是不是不会堕落，教会不会像使徒时代一样结束，不会。
And if we speak more of this, within the 1,000 years, the church will not end or
这个你看第1节到第3节就知道，也就是说，在这个之前，那个撒旦已经把神的国怎么样迷惑过一次，这是全面性的。所以使徒时代那个列国已经是消失掉，那现在真耶稣教会出来不会，一直到1000年结束，撒旦会放出来。
and that the church will not corrupt, and the Satan already once has fooled the church, and that the people, the nation of God were gone, and will not happen again within the 1,000 years.
所以1000年是到这里啊。
And so the 1,000 years end there.
对，那结束之后就是没有再印额了。
And when it ends, there's no more
印
seals.
额哈，就是你再怎么求生，你求不到了，
There's no more
关门
seals
了。
of the forehead, and no matter how much you pray for the Holy Spirit, you will not have it.
那这个时候也是那个马太福音第24章15节 真耶稣教已经传遍，福音已经传遍天下。
And at this time, it is also recorded in Matthew 24, verse 15, of what had happened here, that by this time the gospel will be preached to the ends of the world.
那主耶稣说，这个时候就是末世才来到。
And Jesus Christ said that this is the end times.
所以如果讲到这里哈，那个小朋友啊，要努力读书，以后怎么样？要结婚生小孩。我不是讲年轻人呐、他们要准备这个。当然我不知道，可能明天全世界都信主耶稣了，说那个真耶稣教已经传遍了。但是我已经从神学生到现在。就是这样子，很有在欧洲蛮有进展的，但是都一点一点。现在10几个国家，但是你想想看，全世界那么多，所以还是要好好生儿养女，不要想说耶稣要来了，不读书了。我遇到真的在你们美国有一个大士了，他说不读啦，耶稣要来，因为他听那末世道理听太多了，我攻打国民。我臭骂他一顿。
And so in the end times, we don't know when the end times will come, so we still need to study hard and have kids and live a good life. One of the U.S. Member who is in a senior of college, he said he doesn't want to study anymore because he said the time is near, but we do not know when the time will be near.
也没有啊，他现在又生了2个小孩。耶稣还没来。
And now that this person has kids and Jesus is still not here.
好，不管怎么样，一定要正常生活。
And so no matter what, we need to live our lives.
不要末世热冲昏头。
And we shouldn't have think that the end time is near and we're blinded by it.
好，那在这个白马。一开始就开始有
，And this white horse starts from the beginning.
主要是马哦
，And it is a horse.
马是主体啊，主要的 main body 就是。
It is the main body.
但是这个马呢，白马之后有红马。
And after the white horse is the red horse.
其实如果你把那个红拿掉，也是马。
If you take out the redness, it's still a horse.
在这里呢。白马继续一直到你看19章11节哈。
And the red horse, as you see here, will continue to Revelation chapter 19.
要最后把世界终结，就是把敌人完全终结的是白马。
And the white horse is the one who has ended the world and has ended the enemy.
主耶稣坐在上面。
And Jesus Christ is sitting on it.
如果你够长寿，你也会。也是借着这需要最后大战，最后的一个大战就是骑白马。
And if you live long enough, you will also be sitting on the white horse, and this is the great final battle.
最后大战是记载在19章11节之后。
And the great final battle is recorded after 19 verse 11.
一直到19章最后一节。
Until the last verse of 19.
你看。最后大战啊！以后说世界大战，最后大战在不要什么星际大战啊，什么中东战啊，什么石油战啊，什么圣地战啊，又现在加沙战啊，这个时候是可以，我是讲哦，这是历史地理上的可以战，但是以起诉来讲的话，不是最主要的战。
And if you think of the Great War, don't think of the war, the Persian War, the war of the Great World Wars, the war in Gaza currently. This is referring to the spiritual war, Great War.
你世界再怎么战哦
And no matter how many wars happens on earth.
那个爱因斯坦说 ，Einstein
said.
他说：“我不知道第3次世界大战怎么打。”
He said, "I don't know when World War III will happen or how it will happen."
他知道第四次世界大战是好像拿棍子打的。
And he knows that the fourth world war will be taken with will be rods,
用石头棍子这样。
stones,
也是说
sticks.
他认为第三次世界大战是会一个全面性那个文明的毁坏，完了之后人类从原始时代才开始。
And so he considered that the third world war will end the world, and that in the fourth world we will start from the prehistorical
我们
times.
不用怕这个。
And we don't need to be afraid of this.
以启示录来讲的话，
In the book of Revelation,
到时候真的会大战，
there will be a great war,
最后毁灭。
and there will be a final war.
这只是地面上的，
And what we know of is only what's happening on earth.
最后毁灭之后，
But after the end of the war,
在启示录有2个层面哈，
in Revelation there are 2 dimensions.
地上的真的会打，
And on earth there will be wars,
但
world
是另外一
wars.
个是属灵的，
But the other dimension is the spiritual
属
dimension.
灵的是以教会，
And the spiritual dimension, the church is the
以
key.
真耶稣教会。
And it is the True Jesus Church.
你看真耶稣教会出来的时候，
When True Jesus Church appeared,
其实是第一次世界大战的时候。
it was during the time of World War I.
第一次世界大战是打到1918年，
And World War I ended in 1918.
真耶稣教会在那个时候出来。
And True Jesus Church appeared during that time.
真耶稣教会出来的时候，
And when True Jesus Church appeared,
第一件事情是什么？
what happened
你看
first?
第7章哈，
Look at verse 7.
先把4个使者把它安定。
And first there are the 7 angels.
第7章第1节就
The
有
4 angels.
四方的都掌握风的这个使者呢，叫他们不能做一个全面性的一个毁灭性的一个征战。
And the 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth holding the 4 wings, saying, "Do not harm."
所以国跟国、民跟民打仗，这个是怎么讲？不要以这个来说世界末日到了。
And so country against country, nations against nation, we should not use this and say that it is the end time is coming.
那也不可以用地震，
We should not use earthquakes.
你再怎么震跟末世有关系，但是不是看那一点呢、
And earthquakes, no matter how many earthquakes, it does have to do with the end times, but it is not the starting point.
末世开始了，就是什么？燕耳结束。
And the beginning of the end times is the end of the seals.
如果你知道燕耳结束了，我们下个月的那个灵恩布道会，如果问我，我会建议说不用开。
And if we know when the end of the seals will be, then I would actually recommend us not to attend spiritual convocation
这
next
是
month.
很现实的，
Because it is very real.
因为已经门关了，你
Because the
你要
door
替神开门，开不开的没有办法。
has already closed, and we should not try to open the door for God.
下个月要不要开？要，因为没有关啊。
And next month, should we still have convocation? Yes, because the door has not been sealed.
好，这是1000年
And this is 1,000 years.
，1000年之后，
After 1,000 years,
燕耳结束了，
after the end of the seals,
然后呢，就进入到基督国。
and then it enters into the nation of Christ.
对，你看11章第5节是成
Let's
了
look。at chapter 11, verse 5. It says,
这个时候呢是那个吹第7号的时候，
and this is during the 7th trumpet.
成了。
It says, it is done.
什么成呢？
And what is done?
世上的国成了我主跟主基督的国。
The world and the nation and the nation of Christ,
他要做王直到永永远远。
and that he will be king from now until forevermore.
那在这个之前，
And before that,
这边是号哈
this is the
，trumpet。
trumpet.
第7号一吹，
And after the 7th trumpet has been sound,
不是一吹就世界就末日没有啊。
and it is not to say once it's sound that it is the end of the world.
来讲的话，好戏还在后头。
And to put in another word, the show is later on.
7号之后才有7碗。
Because after the 7th trumpet, there are the 7 bowls.
这个7碗是最后神已经生气了，神只有气一次，这一次7碗就没有了。
And the 7th bowls represents the wrath of God. And after he is angry this time, there will be no more.
就是说大怒，神的大怒。
And this is the great wrath of God.
一般都是神福气杯啊，福杯。
And oftentimes it is we receive the blessings, the overflowing blessings of God.
那神的生气也怎么样？
But when God is angry, what
神的
happens?
愤怒的杯，
It will be his bowl of wrath.
到最后杯没有办法胜了，没有办法成不了了啊，打完了。
And when the bowl can no longer hold his anger, it will begin.
好，在吹第7号之前，你可以看到以色列人进入到真耶稣教会。
And before the seven trumpets, the Israelites will enter into true Jesus
就是
church.
保罗所讲的，
And is what Paul said.
就是以色列的圣民，剩下的人。
The remnants of Israel.
到最后
At the very end,
会进来，
the
剩下的人，他们这个当中，在启示录有，若以犹太人为一个主题的话，也是一个主题了哈。他在当中你可以看得到，他们经过很多时期，他们都不信的。
And the remnants of Israel will come to the church. And if we use the topic of Jews as a topic here, we could use that because they've been through a lot.
好，是这样子哈。好，那所以白马从头一直到结束。
And so the white horse starts from the beginning and also till the end.
就真耶稣教会。
And it is the true Jesus church.
那真耶稣教会一出来呢，开始一出来不久就红马了，几乎是跟在屁股后面的。
And not long after the appearance of the white horse appears the red horse that follows after.
马就是这个主体哈，
And the horse is the key character.
白马是主要的 main body。
And the main body. The white horse is the main body.
真耶稣教会在走的时候，真耶稣教会接下来有一些红树在里面，
And when
就
the,
是红马跟着。
and when the white horse is continuing, there are red horse that follows.
没有慕道者嘛哈？
Are there any truth seekers here?
有没有？这是要关起门来讲自己的话。
This is to say these words behind
你
closed
想一想
doors.
哈，
And if you think about it,
有真耶稣教会一开始就一直在分裂。
because starting the big
你可能说哪里？我们这里 peaceful 啊。
when the true
神国
Jesus
不是
church
平安
was
吗？
established,
你想想
there's
啊。
been conflicts and separations ever since.
你想想，我们先从1917年开始，
And you will say, no, this is not happening. But if you consider starting from 1917,
在这个当中不断的红马，并且呢，这耶稣教绝对不会消失或是震动，不会一直在走。
and that there's a lot of conflicts during that time, but yet the church, the white horse, will continue on.
我们也知道，初期的3个工人都怎么样？最好的是早死，然后呢，应该得救了。
And we know that the 3 early workers of the true Jesus church, either they died early or they've been saved.
就是所谓的喂保罗嘛。
And it is a way Paul way.
在真耶稣教历史，有人在 argue 了，你是属喂保罗的，还是你是喂家的，还是巴拿巴的，还是什么？你是哪一家的？
And during the time, they would say, "Are you do
可以
you
问谁
belong
是吧？
to the Wei family or the Chang family?"
真耶稣教会属
But
神的，
neither, and we
不是
belong
这
to
家，
the
不是
true
那
Jesus
家，
church.
不
We
是这
belong
派
to
那
God.
派。
Not that group or the other.
你看现在卫家这个教会还存在吗？
And if you
存
look
在，
at the Wei family, are they still within the church? No, they have been
人数
excommunicated.
多不多？
Are there many?
不少，
And that there was
很多。
quite a bit.
甚至我们有本来是属于 main body 真耶稣教会的传道，后来被除名了，他就跑到北边去了，
And
跟
that
他们联合了。
after he was
接受他们暗手。
excommunicated, he left the church.
但是很奇妙哦，我们真耶稣教会一般整体的信徒来讲，我们都是很 peaceful。
But thank God, as a whole, the church members are peaceful.
那如果有人，譬如说这个传道，这个光头的传道作威作福，最后犯了死罪被除名了。之前可能你们听他又被除名之后，你也好像感觉 peaceful， 好像没事了，对不对？有没有？
And let's say this bold preacher, if he committed deadly sin and was excommunicated, it would cause issues. But later on, after I'm excommunicated, we will be all at peace.
有没有？也是很平静啊。
And it
照
is
常聚会，照
peaceful.
常什么
We？continue to worship.
如果你不开讲习会，不再讲一次，忘了。
And if we don't do another Bible seminar, then we will forget.
这就是要记住这个。有时候遇到一个事件比如说明天那个光头的传道作威作福了，你们气得半死，对不对？还煮好吃的给他吃，现在怎么危害教会，害死这个，害死那个？你有的信徒说我已经准备棒球棍了，要把它打下去，但是过了不久，几个月、几年，好像没事了。
And
但
let's
是你
say
是还留在这个 main body 的真耶稣教会。
let's say the bold preacher has committed great sin and has left the church, excommunicated. A lot of people has fallen and left the church, and you're angry because you cooked delicious food for the pastor, and all of this is happening.
我们我可能要
Oh,
讲短一点。
and you still are within the church, the main body.
以现在来讲，教会有没有还在分裂、发酵？有没有？真耶稣教会现在还有没有在发酵？
Oh, and is the true church, is it continue to ferment?
对
Yes.
有啊，
Yes.
还在，
And it is still fermenting,
但你也不知道嘛，对不对？
but we don't know of it.
感谢主啊，
And thank God.
这是很奇妙的一个
And this is a really miraculous thing.
因为是讲习会嘛，那你又叫我讲，我是又是主内的，如果慕道者不要讲这个，他听了他明天不敢来。
And this is a Bible seminar, and we can speak of these, but better not to speak of this to the truth
因为
seekers.
你们还特别赶一早来，表示你信心坚强。
Because you have come all the way here on early morning, and it shows that your faith is strong.
那这也是告诉你
And this is to tell us
真耶稣教会
that the true church
一定是什么样？圣经，
is according to
一
the
定是
Bible.
圣经，
It is the Bible.
绝对不是传统。
It is not a
不要讲传
tradition.
统，传统不跟圣经一致，对不起，放在旁边。若有危害教会的，除掉。
And if the tradition is not in line with the Bible, then we get rid of the tradition.
那如果无伤大雅，那就放在旁边，不要把它当成真理来遵守啊。
And if the
参
tradition
考嘛。
does not hurt, is not in conflict with the truth, then we put it to the side. And
你娶媳妇对不对？你有娶过媳妇吗？有。
And we
有
use
没
it
有给
as
她准备
reference.
新娘房？有。这是文化的记住。可以做，并且很伟大。如果有一个人，他没有娶媳妇，他不是娶媳妇，是他儿子结婚，他怎么我会去娶媳妇呢？是儿子结婚，没有给他准备新娘房，你怎么样？ 让他这样，知道吗？这不是真理的，不要拿到教会来。
And he's speaking of some cultural reference in terms of marriage.
听不懂了。
And he says, I don't understand. Say it again.
这个是，我以为这很容易懂。李执事，你应该可以知道，有执事，我讲这样可以明白吗？
And this Deacon Lee understand.
我的意思是说，有一些文化的东西。
My point is that anything related to culture and traditions.
中国人的文化现在很严重的在那个江阴，你要娶媳妇，他们已经，我看刚开始是从10几万人民币，现在已经100多万，并且是不是用讲的，是真的要100多万，不是那个人民币，也不少啊。
And the cultural reference of
是那个聘金哦。
Of the dowry in mainland China, it has now increased to millions of dollars when you
看地方啊，有一个地方叫江阴。
when you give to your daughter-in-law.
我去过那边N次啊，应该10次有。
And I've been there many times, more than 10.
改得过来吗？
And they cannot change their culture and tradition.
我虽然讲了100遍，他们听听啊，但
And
是还是
even
照
I've
做。
said it over 100 times, they still continue to do so.
那我会不会说绝对不能？
And would I
还是继
say
续
you
做啊？
absolutely cannot, and they will still continue to do
我
it?
比较担心的是，穷的人娶不了老婆啊。
And I was more worried that
好弟兄又穷。
the poor cannot get married.
好了。
Good brothers who are poor cannot get
我讲的
married.
这是说，类似这个是文化上的，
And I'm saying this
或是
because
风俗上的
I。am giving an example of something that is culturally and traditionally relevant.
好，那就是我其实也可以怎么画呢？就是画过来，平行的画过来，就是白马在走，红马也在走。
And so while the white horse is walking on the straight line, the red horse is also walking with it.
但是到最后呢，会连
But
在一
what
起。
happens in the end? They will come together.
所以一路来了，正式教会是一直在吵的。
And so there's been conflict since the beginning of the establishment of the True Jesus Church.
那个地方的教会，这是小吵。
And they're within the local churches or the small
不会很
conflicts.
伤大雅。
There are not great conflicts within.
我讲的是，就是领导阶层的，就是带领阶层的。
And the great conflict is referring to conflict within the leadership board.
眼睛闭起来，哪里都有。
And if you close your eyes, you can start thinking of many people who have fallen.
我当开始传道，当传道一开始，先去最多的地方就是非洲。
And when I was first a pastor, the place that I've mostly visited was Africa.
更严重啊！
And it is even more serious today.
奈及利亚
Nigeria.
1970年末开始，
And towards the end of 1970,
80年最高峰。1980，
1980.
你可以看以前，你可以拿了以前的圣灵报来看，哇，那个风在吹，雨在下，马在跑，白马在跑，看异象，看什么？我后来去，人家说受洗超8000人。
And during the 80s, the wind was blowing, the rain was pouring down, and the white horse was going, and that there were 8,000 baptized.
那个神迹奇事啊，是真的，你不能说假，我也亲眼看过。
And there were great miracles and signs.
大家
And
祷，
I saw it myself. Someone who died raised up and was alive again.
但这8000人到最后剩下，到现在差不多不到300人。
And these 8,000 people, now there remains 300.
刚开始，1982年，他们那边有3个那个传道啊，到英国来受训啊，在爱丁堡受训。
And in the 1980, there were 3 workers from Nigeria who received training from Edinburgh.
1982年我是在来美国受训的。
Because in 1980, I was in the U.S.
在刚刚讲那个他有爱，有什么信望爱，那个时候我有来这里受过训。
And I was trained in Garden Grove, and there was a topic on love, hope,
这3个回去，
and faith.
一个禁食死掉了。禁食啊，他因为2个人很有恩赐啊，那这个人说我恩赐不够啊，所以他听了见证说什么为保罗禁食39天，后来他也禁食了，所以还没到39天就死了。
And out of the 3 workers, one of them fasted because he heard about Paul way fasting, but after fasting he died.
也不是用禁食来比赛啊，
And because fasting is not a race.
真的有神的感动。
You have to be truly moved by the
你
Spirit of
禁食
God.
不吃不喝一点水都不可以哦。
And
3天
fasting,
3
you
夜
can't
不会
drink
死。
any water. You won't die after
不会啊
3 days, 3 nights.
你可以，但要圣灵感动，
But you need to be moved by the Spirit.
不然你身体就不太好了。你一禁食就怎么样？因为没圣灵感动，你怎么样？病更严重。说怎么禁食没用？你用禁食来比赛嘛？这个开玩笑。
And if you're already not healthy and you continue to fast as if it's a race, then this is a joke.
哦，好。那2个呢？
And how about the remaining 2 workers?
带着他以前的那个信徒都跑掉了。
They have taken the original believers and have left the church.
教会开始不是打架，就是啊，
And so the church begins to fight internally,
到
have
第2代、第
conflict,
3代，
till the 2nd and the 3rd generation.
我在讲事实啊。
And this is the truth.
讲这个目的是什么？
And what is the purpose of saying this?
如果你在教会稍微一吵架，你就说哇，世界末日还久了咯。
And if you have some fights within the church and you said the end is near, there's still some time.
红马一定会
Because the red horse will follow.
啊，怎么办？
And what do we do?
你不要红了，不要红了，你红马来你也自己红了，那你
And
就
we
完
should
了。
not turn red ourselves.
一定要白呀、
We have to turn white.
启示里面白是耶稣，
And in the book of Revelation, the white horse is
耶
Jesus.
稣头白，
And his head is white,
发也白，
and his
头
hair,
发
hair is
是不一
white.
样哦。头发不白不一定头白啊，
His head is white and his hair is white. And they're 2 different things.
头白发白。
Head white, hair white.
我们的穿白的细麻，
And that he's wearing a white linen.
在启示里面，白只属于神啊。你不要白又想其他的什么，白就是什么，不要用人来想，白就是属于神圣。
And in the Bible, white represents God and it represents his holiness.
人家再怎么红，
No matter how red
让
he
他
is,
红了。这个红是什么红？你知道吗？
what kind of red is this?
是火红。
It is fiery red.
在圣经里面，红有两种，一种是火的红，一个是什么？血的红。这不是流血啊，这是 fire。
And there are 2 types of red. One is the red of the fire and the other of blood. This is the one referring to a fiery red.
有人说我生来就是火爆个性啊，我没有这样不行啊，让他红，让他红啊。
And some say that they're born with a fiery temper, and that is that kind of red.
这个白马才会到最后。
And this white horse will last till the end.
最后你是骑白马，
And in the end, you will ride on the white horse.
你用再怎么样，你的那个火红没有办法撑到底。
And no matter how fiery red you are, it will not last till the end.
再是黑马，
Then is the black horse.
我们知道在这里讲过，黑马其实就公义的时代。
And we have mentioned here that the black horse is referring to
黑马出来是拿着什么天平？
they're holding a scale.
黑马在这里看，它是不徇情面的。 不是看人面的，就是黑马，就是一个公平，很公平的。
That he is holding a seal, that he does not have a face of a man.
好，这个不是说什么人脸危机啦，什么那个什么饥荒啦，不是那个的。
And this is not referring to droughts or
如果你
human
看下去的话，
disasters. If you continue to read on,
要问你有没有1000银子？
and they will ask you if you have 1,000.
不是1000银子，你看1000呢，一个 denarius。
1 darius.
这个 1 denarius 哪里来的？
And where is this 1 darius from?
如果你看马太福音20章，
If you look at Matthew chapter 20,
你进入到神的那个葡萄园，
when you enter into God's vineyard,
无论你是早上6点来的，
no matter if you come at 6 a.m.
或是你是晚上5点来的，就下午5点来的，快要收工了，因为下午6点收工。
or if you come at 5 p.m. Before it ends at 6,
每一个人都一个 denarius，
everyone has 1 denarius.
也就是说，你只要进入到真耶稣教会，
And it means that as long as you have entered into the true church,
不管你说我是老信徒，
no matter if you say I'm an old believer,
或者说我是半路来的，
I came midway,
那甚至到要关门了你才来，
or you came right before it closed,
一样，通通一样。
and it is the same.
所以在那个比喻，那个老的最开始说：“我们做了一天工，难道只是这样子啊？那跟他那个是做一点点都一样啊。”
And so in the analogy, in the parable, the worker that was there first, he was angry that he said that he was being compared to the worker that came later.
主人说：“你眼红啊！”说你的眼红。
And Jesus said that your eyes are evil, are red.
不是，我要给他就给他，你得你的份就好了。
I give what I want to give, and you should receive yours and go your way.
也就是说，在救恩里面，没有都一样的，不是因为你当传道或是你当长老就多一份，拜托没有。
And it is salvation is the same for everyone.
1000银子。
Even if you're a holy worker of God, we receive the same, not to say we will receive more, and we all receive 1 denarius.
小朋友哈，你也是1000银子。
And even our little ones, they receive 1 denarius.
我不太认识你，你有没有阿嬷跟你阿嬷一样？跟你
And if you
祖
have
父
a grandma, your grandma would receive the same, that she's not more than you.
好，所以你只要保守在神的里面，
And as long as you are kept within the Lord,
就不会饿到了。
then you will not go hungry.
这就是黑马。
And that is the white horse.
那灰马就要
Oh,
小
that
心，
is the black horse.
这个时候会出野兽
Oh, 灰马. Is there a
beast
gray horse?
gray。
Gray, there's a gray horse.
其实如果你用希腊文来看的话，其实它是绿色的或是青色的。
And in original Greek, it is either pale or green.
那这个是在如果那个你吓到了、吓死了哈，我是看书的，我自己没看过。但是用台湾话来台语来讲的话，行甲车顺顺就是这个车顺
And
顺。
when we see the pale horse, we should be frightful.
这个时候呢，很严重的是野兽。
And what's
野兽很
serious
多。
now is the beast.
谁当野兽？
Who is the beast?
以我们现在来讲的话，
And considering now,
如果要选野兽的话，
if we were to choose a beast,
我可能是那个排行榜就是候选人第1名。
and I am the first candidate.
啊，接下来可能就是不好意思说李执事了，
And
因为我是full time。对，
and the second
那
would
你
be a
应该也
deacon.
是前10
And
名。
because I'm full time, and anyone who is full time will be considering the first and second candidates of this beast.
执事娘啊，或是
Deaconess wife.
这里野兽是谁变的？谁变成野兽？
And who turns into this beast?
如果你看彼得，
And
就
if you
是
look at Peter,
教会里面的 什么带领的人。
And those are the leaders within the church.
如果这个弟兄整个教会都听他，
And that, let's say there's a brother and everyone listens to him.
这种人变野兽的机会是，我不是他一定变野兽，你不要一直每次
And
看
I'm
到
not saying he
长老
will
只是说，
become
野
this
兽野
beast,
兽野兽，
but he has a greater chance of
不是的。
becoming one. And don't say that I said that all deacons and pastors will become a beast.
你也可以变野兽啊。
You can be a beast too.
但是如果你现在你变野兽，可能比10年前咬人更厉害。
But if you
因为
become a
10年前你
beast
还是年轻
now, you will
年
be
轻人嘛。
stronger than you were when you were 10
你
years
变野
prior.
兽咬不到嘛，你还太小，小野兽。
And that you'll be a tiny beast.
那你现在已经慢慢的负责人嘛，
You had,
至少
you
有
had
几个
less
人选你
destruction.
的啦。
But now that you're a church council member
那
and
你可以
have,
私下
some
运
have
作啊。
selected you, you will be a greater beast.
你在教会圣工做的越大，影响力越大，你变野兽那个咬人的机会、咬死人的机会越大。你可以想一想，我讲的是
And the
这
more
样的
holy work you do and the greater responsibility you have within the church, the more impactful you are as a beast and you will have a stronger bite.
为什么为保罗影响那么大？
And why was Paul Way so influential?
到现在他还影响着。
And even till today, he still influences the members.
我不是说他是野兽，
And I'm not saying that he's a beast,
但是我知道的，
but I know
他的儿子，
that his son,
你可以去看哦，他写悔过书啊，写悔过书。他说他信耶稣错了，他那个。
oh, he wrote a confession.
其实，但是他现在就是他们讲了，现在所谓的在大陆还有所谓的北方教会，他们就是说这个教会是魏家的魏保罗，然后呢，他的儿子叫做魏以撒，他的孙子本来叫做魏迎新，后来改名叫做魏雅各，所以亚伯拉罕、以撒、雅各的教会，亚伯拉罕、以撒、雅各的神，信徒听呢。信徒也相信呐。
And so, even though he has written a confession, in the mainland China, there are still the northern churches who follow after this Wei family, the 3 generations of the Wei family, compared to the 3 generations of Abraham, and they believed it.
尤其我们中国人最对这个传统家统或者什么，哇，有那种忠心感。
And because the Chinese people have a great have the understanding and the traditional belief of family values.
都会讲家风。
And so they speak of family a lot.
其实我们要讲家风啊，
And if
我们
we are
也要
to
讲。
talk, we should talk about our
我
families.
们是什么家？
What family do we belong to?
基督之家啊。
We belong to the family
我
of
们都是弟
Christ.
兄姐妹
We are
啊。
brothers and sisters.
你的家风是什么风？
What family do you belong
基
to?
督的风，基督的样子，这样
It
讲
is
才
the
对的。
family, the image of Christ.
好，所以亲嘛，就是野兽出来。
And so the pale horse.
那出来之后呢？
And after the pale horse appears,
现在第5印呢、
the 5th seal.
已经是超越过马的时代。
And it has surpassed the time of the horse.
这是2，然后呢8，这是第9节哈，第9节
And in verse 9,
9、10、11也是3嘛哈，
and there are 3 verses here.
这是2，3，然后呢3。
And earlier there were, starting from the first seal, it would be 2 verses, 2 verses, 2,
第
and
1
then
印就是
3.
第1节到第2节。
The first seal is verse 1 to 2,
节
second seal is 3 to 4.
哦，是这样子。
And it is so forth.
这是第6章嘛。
And this is chapter 6.
那在第6印分成两个。
And the 6th seal is split into 2 parts.
一个是讲自然界的，
And one is referring to the natural world.
一个是讲属灵界的。
and one is referring to the spiritual realm.
好，那我们就先讲到第11。
And now we have concluded up to fourth seal.
好，那第5印
And the fifth seal.
之后，那好了。